Hello and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. So for today's video, I will be painting my original character. This is definitely kind of inspired by K-pop Demon Hunters since I just watched it like a week ago. I believe it's a week or 2 weeks, I don't even know, time flies. So my original character that I keep drawing does have like these kind of like shadowy tattoos, almost like patterns. Not the same as K-pop Demon Hunters, more like kind of like smoky, abstract, and more curved lines as opposed to very angular and purple how the patterns are for demons in that movie. So I thought it'd be kind of fun almost to paint him on like this blue, kind of almost like a demon vibes, especially the glowy eyes. When I saw one artist doing a fan art of the demons, it was kind of funny because I was like, oh, you know, it would be so cool to actually have them in blue and then like glowing eyes. And then I thought, you know what, it'd be even more fun to do this kind of traditionally, just because it's a little bit more of a challenge, right, to keep watercolor all nice and bright and clean. So I was like, yeah, let me try this because I haven't done a watercolor painting in a hot minute. And I did say how the last couple of artworks I did were just iPad drawings, and unfortunately all I had was like the iPad time-lapse drawings, and I wanted to do a little bit more in depth. It's a little bit more fun. It's challenging to do with the whole setup, but it's also kind of a little bit more fun to do this traditionally and everything, and have the camera set up and everything. Oof, looking back at the second layer background, I kind of really wish that it turned out way smoother, but I still kind of enjoy the messiness of watercolor. Oh well. So I re-recorded this a couple of times because I kind of kept going off talking about K-pop Demon Hunters, but I figured that would probably be best to do it in the fan art one that I'm actually working on right now. So I'll leave that to there and not go off in this video. Anyway, back to the actual artwork. I decided to do the line art, the final line art digitally. I had done a test run of this in my sketchbook actually, like a really quick one. And I was like, you know what, I really like this. I want to do like a finished piece and not worry too much about trying to create finished pieces in my sketchbook, just because the paper, like, it gets all warpy really quickly. It's a mixed media one, and I find it's just more worth it to keep it on paper. Even if I screw it up, I don't really care. I'm not going to be more precious about it. Some of these papers like sit around for ages just because I'm being too precious. Now, the one thing though, I was kind of thinking after I completed the line art digitally and was going to do the whole transfer on light table, blah, 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 printing, I thought, could I just print this out on hot press watercolor paper? I have asked this question 1,000 times and I've just never committed to trying. And I thought, you know what, this paper is actually just as heavy as my cardstock. And so my printer has been able to handle the heavyweight cardstock. So I'm just like, let me give this a go. It's like Arches hot press paper. And so I just cut it down to a size that I wanted to draw on. The only problem is iPads. I don't know exactly. I was just too lazy to figure out the settings. For some reason, by default, it only has like 11 by 17, the 8.5 by 11, and then some other random size or something that you can select in outside of Procreate and inside of Procreate. So I'm just like, I'm too much time to research, try and figure out how to make sure it prints out on custom, because it gets a little wonky or funky if you just try and hope it prints on the correct size, right? If it's oversized, it'll be like printing off border or whatever. So I just transferred it to my computer and then I printed from there, because then you can just custom select size. And I was like, I swear, am I crazy, or is 9 by 12 like a thing? And I just decided to make up that size or something. So I decided to paint on like 9 by 12 paper. I was like, and I cut this paper down just because Arches I didn't realize was European, so it's got like A3, and I kind of can't stand doing any of the A sizes because then a lot of times you can't really find frames or anything like that for it, and I tend to like to create my artworks by the standard of the continent I am on. They can always be adjusted anyway digitally. Technically I could tweak it if I was like making prints, that's fine, but traditionally I just kind of like sticking to the size for whatever reason. It's not like I'm gonna frame my own artwork up or anything like that. It's just, I don't know, I kind of like sticking to some kind of consistency, I suppose. Although I haven't painted a 9x12 in ever, so, or maybe like, no, I have sketchbooks I think that are 9x12. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you think that's a weird size. But the printing was a success. I just did line art, mind you, so I have no idea if a final artwork would print correctly, and I could not tell if the ink shifted at all since I did a blue wash on blue lines. So just for what I needed, it still worked. So here I'm working on the hair, and I'm actually feeling very confident, and I actually really like the way the hair turned out, just because that was a major stress point in the past as well, of just getting stylized hair right, and just like the wispiness or something, and the strokes of it, essentially. Shape language, right? That's kind of something that's part of like the basics of art. And sometimes that's the most difficult to nail, right? Because it's not necessarily about mimicking others or trying to do anything else other than just figuring out your own shape language, essentially. For the finest lines, I definitely go in there with a Faber-Castell pencil crayon, just because you can create very nice fine lines and the same amount of darkness, I guess you could say, as the watercolor and what I'm trying to achieve. You know, what's really funny is when I went down the rabbit hole of watercolors and researching different brands and stuff like that, since all I had originally was Winsor & Newton Cotman set from like 1,000 years ago. I ran into the brand Daniel Smith, and I thought, you know what, why don't I just give it a go and trying a couple of colors or something. And I just picked 2 really random colors that I liked. I don't even remember what prompted me to pick these specific colors, but it was Phthalo Blue and Quin Pink. And I remember those were the only 2 Daniel Smith colors I had for a hot minute, and doing a few sketches. Hopefully I'll remember to pop that up on the screen. But I just remembered really enjoying even just using the 2 colors. I think I had randomly also gotten a lemon yellow. Yeah, Schminke lemon yellow, probably in store, because I think the first 2 I mentioned I bought online. So it was kind of fun going back to just using those 2 colors for mostly majority of the stuff. The blush on the cheeks and the face and everything, I did actually use Opera Rose. I mean, it's actually Shinhan poster color, and it's just labeled pink, but it's basically Opera Rose. So if you're wondering how that intense pink is intense like that, yeah. This also may be why it's probably not a good idea to try and sell the original, because Opera Rose is very fugitive, so that would probably fade the quickest. But it's really, really nice to use even on regular skin tones for blush and stuff like that. I think I saw another artist doing that, so that's not my sort of hack, just because I myself was finding that when I was doing because I like adding pink to the nose and to the cheeks, obviously, to any character, male or female or whatever. And I found that I kept going into some colors, and just none were as good as mixing the Opera Rose with a I can't remember what that skin tone was, or if you're just like the pre-mix kind of one that kind of seems like a skin tone, or when you're mixing all the colors to make any skin tone, like light or dark. I find it pops way more, so it's really nice, and it's a lot of fun to use. Like, I'm always a little worried about fugitive colors, but I mean, just a disclaimer, if you're ever buying traditional original art, watercolor specifically, always just keep in mind that you will have to display the watercolor in a proper UV frame or whatever, or something that'll protect it, and don't dunk it in a room where direct sunlight is constantly hitting it, because the chances of it fading are pretty high for a lot of artworks, I think, or a lot of paints, I mean. Not always the case, because I think a lot of people will use non-fugitive colors, but there are definitely ones out there. Which really sucks, because, you know, there's a lot of really great colors, but reds especially apparently are very fugitive, which really sucks. So I should definitely do a test random piece of paper slap all the colors that I usually use and stick it out in the sunlight and just see how long it lasts, and then kind of report back, I guess, if anybody's interested, because I know they say it'll be like quick, but I've never actually seen it or experienced it because I've never stuck an artwork in the sun just to die, I guess. But speaking of the sun, yes, at some point the sun decided to come out and I had not closed my curtains, so I was just like covering of his face or something, and it's like, oh, whoopsie. So apologies for that, not being able to clearly see that portion for a hot minute there. So the whole point of this piece was to have a little fun, also keep a very restricted palette, just not to complicate things either, which can be quite fun. It's like the only additional colors essentially is indigo for the hair. And of course the eyes are yellow, so they kind of like pop and stand out and bring focus to the artwork itself. But I also really wanted to draw my OC, so yeah, there was that. This OC does have a name, unlike most of my original characters. I did name him Nathaniel, and that's only because it was part of a comic story that I had created and like written up. Just the blueprints for it, basically. I hadn't actually drawn out the comic at all. I'm one of those types where, you know, I keep changing my mind on the story or the details or how it's gonna flow or whatever, and I keep getting distracted by other things. Or even what medium I'm going to use to create the comics, blah blah blah. Will it be in color? Will it be black and white? Like more like manga instead. So it's just one of those projects living rent-free in my head that may never ever get completed. So I finally got to the part where I was most excited to do, because that would kind of be the most contrast and really bring everything together, especially the focus to his face. Da-na-na-na, and that is the eyes. I got really excited for this. It's like such a small detail, but I don't know. There's something satisfying about peeling away the masking fluid and then just doing the details. I also spent some time really touching up the face and adding the most contrast and focus there as well. I mean, at this point, I still hadn't even painted the tattoos. I think I almost half forgot, to be honest. So I suppose looking back, I almost regret keeping things a little too simple. I didn't really put too much effort in what he was going to wear. Then again, I was just like, I'm just going to maybe make this piece a little more thirsty. Haha. But in terms of just details in general of just more character, I guess, showing off. But I suppose I was a bit nervous seeing as I'd already ruined one. Well, not quite ruined, but I just was not as happy with another watercolor painting. And that's maybe why I kind of like got nervous and went back to digital, where I could easily just keep hitting undo. It's not that I'm like the greatest at digital either, but the great thing about being able to constantly undo is meaning that you're kind of in a safer scenario where you can't ruin a perfectly good piece of paper or waste a certain amount of medium or whatever. But I'm happy I'm getting more confident, or feeling more confident in my traditional medium as well, because I really enjoy using it, so it would really suck to not be. But yeah, character design can be a bit difficult. It's not as easy as it seems, sort of thing. So I think maybe I'll brush up on more like character design tutorials, just to like get back in the mindset or something of thinking about all the visual details, because I feel like I've been a little bit lacking, and there's something about my characters that I want to improve upon, but I'm not entirely sure what it is, considering I feel like anatomically or whatever, the way I'm drawing them, I'm so far being satisfied with. Like, I know how to improve on that, but in terms of the details and stuff like that, I feel like I've completely forgotten about those details now. There's always a lot to learn when drawing, and I don't think it ever really ends. And the artwork is complete. If you've gotten this far, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed, I hope you can drop a like, and if you would like to see more, please hit subscribe. See you on the next one.